Suzuki Ignis. It was the first real little crossover SUV type car that came along about 3 years ago. And it was unusual at the time. It still is quite unusual. Very, very distinctive Suzuki grille over here. You can't miss it in any way. You know this is a Suzuki. Very short nose, but it's still got cues, if you come around on the side here, of the Vitaras and of the Suzuki SUV range. Very cleverly bring in the family links, shall we call them. You come back to the front over here, you'll see, because this is a GLX, you get GL and GLX spec. You have got LED headlights and you have got fog lights down below. That means it's the higher spec version. So keep in mind. You've also got, of course, the silverish skid plate effect round at the front, down at the bottom over there. All these are, of course, your SUV cues that they're so keen to make you think you're driving a full-on SUV. You come around over here, you can see nice little black mag wheels, and you're on 14 inches over here. So they're small wheels, but I think they do the job, and that's all that counts over there. They look very, very neat. And of course, now the important factor of SUV, crossover SUV, is the black cladding over the wheel arches, down the bottom of the car. It's always an important feature to make you think you're driving an SUV. Another one is on GLX spec again. You get roof rails. Don't know if I dare put anything on top over there and use it for anything, but they look the part. They really do. GLX feature again. Push button entry and egress. Also linked to push button start. On GL spec, you don't get a lot of these little items. Something else on the Ignis that I know from the launch that is very important is, although it's a small car, very short, they made a feature of the fact that the rear doors open to 90 degrees, which means, look how much easier it is to get in and out of the rear seat. Most other cars, if you're lucky, open that far. That extra swing on the hinge makes such a big difference. Now the driver's seat's set for me. Legroom's fair. Headroom's okay with my hat on, which of course is a Motor Matters test and a feature of that. One of the features of the Ignis design is it's high, tall and narrow. I would hate to put 3 in the back seat, certainly if they're anything older than little kids. You really do not want to. You want to be very intimate if you want to do that. Same even in the front. You need to know your front seat passenger pretty well, because you're going to rub shoulders with them while you're driving along a lot of the time. But that is a feature and a function of a small car like this. While you're looking, you can see the very interesting trim on GLX, where they give you the off-white touches on the interior trim, on the door panels, etc. Just different. And the whole thing of the Ignis was to be different. You come around to the back, and what stands out first and foremost is, of course, this big folks skid plate over there to make you think you can go off-road. Not sure if I'd risk it, but it's there. You pop open the boot, and under the boot board you have got a full-size spare wheel. So well done on that there. Thanks for that, Suzuki. And your rear seats can split 2/3, 1/3. The boot is pretty tiny, but if you want to carry big loads, well, drop seats, don't carry as many passengers. Simple as that. Pop it down, you've got all the features you want over here. Interesting rear tail lights once again. Now, the Ignis range, I mentioned GL, this is GLX, you get a GLX automatic as well. Powered by the very familiar 1.2 litre 4-cylinder engine that powers the Swift range as well. 61 kilowatts, 113 Newton meters out of it. Sounds like so little, but never forget Suzuki are the experts in lightweight construction. So this car is lighter than many others you're going to experience, which means you get a great power to weight ratio. So it's a lot peppier on the road than you may expect. And that is where a big difference comes in. Let's check it out inside. On the road, you'll notice, and I'm deliberately just revving slightly higher before shifting gears for you to really notice it, it is, of course, quite buzzy. But that's the nature of a car of this type. But it certainly performs quite nicely. You can feel it goes quite well. It's quite smooth. And we're going to go up a bit of a hill now just to show you. I'm in third gear at the moment, and you can see it pulls quite decently up a bit of a hill. Let's go into fourth and see what it's like. I'm busy swerving around potholes. We are in South Africa, you know, so just allow for that fact. But you can feel the quick downshift over there. The gear shift is so light, so easy. You just don't feel gear changes at all in any way. But as I mentioned, going up the hill, it certainly pulls pretty nicely up the hill in third or fourth gear. It doesn't matter. And that's why I say this is really a perfect town car for town driving and town life. Let's just do a quick U-turn, and you'll see also quite a nice turning circle on the car, because we're actually going to get round without doing a 3-point. How was that? Probably the first car I've actually managed to do that in at that spot, and you may recognize that little spot from a few of my previous videos as well. There's a little bit of boominess, but it's the nature of the shape of the bodywork of this car, so you can't help that at all. But it's light, it's easy, it's comfortable, it's smooth, and you've got to allow for people who reverse out of driveways, irrespective of whether there's oncoming traffic, because that again is a feature of South African roads these days. But anyway, I think you get the idea of how easy and pleasant and comfortable this car is in general town driving. Starting off behind the wheel, as we always do, look at that. 5.3 litres per 100. That's an overall figure for the entire test period. Being driven a bit harder than sometimes may be the case, but definitely been through a lot of experience and a lot of driving, and try to obviously use all different forms of driving. Interesting, you adjust the info, etc., over on a button over here to change what your screen is, range, average speed, etc. I don't know why it's not picking up range right now. It should be, but that's how it works. And you can see you've got all your features over there. You've got, of course, your infotainment on your multifunction steering wheel, and you've got the very old-fashioned style of buttons over there for your phone. It works, and that's what counts. I mentioned push button start. It's hidden behind the steering wheel over there, a little bit hidden away. And of course, all Suzukis now have DSC systems, so that is an important factor. I've got this white trim, as I mentioned to you just now. Your door locking, no auto lock on pull off. Well, you know how I feel. And then you've got this very unusual, funky, round door pull to close the door. It certainly works well. Now, GLX spec, of course, gives you your nice screen over here, which has Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, important these days to most buyers. And importantly, reverse camera. There you go. So that is something that most people want nowadays as well. You drop down over here, you've got your automatic climate control. Again, very effective, works nicely. Just flick it there for fan, or you can adjust temperature over there. It's very standard, but it works well. And below that you can see you've got a 12 volt and you've got a USB over there. It's certainly sufficient, and it does the job. 5-speed manual gearbox, standard. Light, easy, nothing to it basically. Really, it's as simple as that. You just don't even feel it while you're driving. And so light and easy, whether you're in traffic or whether you're on the open road, it makes no real difference. Nice cloth trim throughout. It's well spec'd, 2 airbags. You've got all those sort of features you'd expect. And I mentioned the white, look at it across the dash as well. So they've certainly tried to make this car look pretty funky, I would call it. Now, of course, the price. You can get into the GL, I've mentioned to you a few times already along the way, losing quite a few items like lower spec headlights, smaller wheels, no screen, manual aircon, etc., etc. Those are the main things you lose by going down to the GL model, and you'll come in at 199,900, 200,000. Jump to 230,900 for the one we're in right now. And personally, I would always go for that higher spec one. You know that from me. It shouldn't be anything new for me to tell you that. Competition is interesting because I'm not quite sure what I would compare to this car based on how it is, how it goes, etc. But you do know what it's about, and you know what this car is. It's more of a town car to me than an open road, long distance cruiser. I must be honest, I put it on the freeway, I got it to cruise at 120, but I would say it's far happier around town. You do get a 2-year, 30,000 kilometer service plan with it, and you of course get Suzuki's 5-year, 200,000 kilometer warranty thrown into the deal. If you're the kind of person like I am that wants to be that little bit different and doesn't want to be part of the crowd and drive the same as everyone else that you know, this is one of those kind of cars. So if you're that person, go and check this one out. It's certainly worthwhile. For Motor Matters, I'm Eleanor. I'll see you next time.